Hey my fellow ink drinkers, welcome to Dark Violet Dreams, where I share my love of books, movies, and other deliciously dark delights. Today, I'm sharing 20 books that were so nice, I'd read them twice, including a handful that I have revisited. I absolutely love revisiting stories that contain some element of relatability, beautiful scenery, the ambiance that just speaks to me, characters that I adore, and exciting plots. I could go on and on about the shows and movies that I like to revisit. If you follow me on Instagram, you might see me talk about the same movies, even songs that I love so much that I feel the need to share them over and over and over again. They speak to me, they hit me on a really deep level, and so I must visit them time and time again. So here are some close friends of mine that I would love to visit with time and time again. These are in no particular order, and of course, there are many books that are not included in this list that I go on and on about, beyond wanting to read them time and time again. They just live within me. So if there is a book that you thought would be on this list, it probably should be. But for the sake of time, I limited this to 20 books. All but one of these books on this list were 5-star reads for me. There was one 4-star read that I did revisit. I believe I visited that particular book a second time for a readathon of some sort, a read-along, something of that nature. But I did enjoy it enough to revisit it, and it has one of the best covers, in my humble opinion. So let's dive in. The first book that I would definitely revisit, and I had every intention of doing so in the past, but I have yet to revisit, is Those You Killed by Christopher Badcock. This is such an amazing book. It is dark, it is full of real life situations as well as some supernatural stuff, hallucination type scenes, and it is just written so beautifully and struck me to my core. Elwood Cathas gave up everything for the needle. Desperate to rebuild a relationship with his daughter and ex-wife, he's come to Lake Chance, a once bustling vacation hotspot, now caught in the throes of a prolonged demise. Tainted and scarred by past events, it's a place that echoes his own existence. I'll leave it there. There is a longer description if you're interested in checking it out, but I absolutely loved this book. It is one of my favorites, and I really need to revisit it. I believe I read this in 2021, so I need to dive back into the story for sure. I've had a long enough break. It's time to dive back in. The second book on my list is Gray Noise. Now I have the advanced reader copy, but this is an amazing book by Marcus Hawke. Anything that he's written is worth a revisit. And this is my favorite. This hit me on a deeper level than the others. While I say that, the others were most definitely some of my favorites as well. But this particular story just hit all the feels, hit all the right spots, and I absolutely adore it. It's a very quick read, so if you're interested in picking up something to kind of pass your time this winter, this is a great story. Evan Gray is just trying to get his store, Rewind Video, up and running. Fate, unfortunately, often has other plans. Then he finds something that would be the perfect touch, an old vacuum tube TV, one that keeps turning to static. And it, too, has other plans. Again, there's more to the description of this book, but it is well worth your time. Ignore the mess behind me. Mistakes were made. The next book I wanted to talk about is Native Fear. I actually did revisit this. I think I read this within the same calendar year. I started this at the end of 2022 and finished it in January of 2023, and then read it again at the end of 2023. I love this book. It is set in Michigan, where I'm from, and so anytime I hear about a setting in Michigan, I am on it. Winter 2017, Ollie Torrance, on the run and hundreds of miles from his home in Illinois, winds up passing through Coyote Village, Michigan. If he'd taken a left or a right at the main street intersection, he'd be fine. But he, unaware of the ill-omened genius loci of Elkhorn Ranch, went straight. He went up Old Willow Road, and not being a local, he hadn't known about the sinister rumors. Everything ranging from satanic worship to scientific experiments and stranger things. The writing in this book is impeccable. Another book that I would most definitely reread, along with all of the other books that I have read by this author, is Candle Horror by Robert Weaver. Candle Horror will be released March 7th, 2025. The sea contains the blood of lovers lost in the throes of a quarrel. Once their isolation was their safety, but the soul lights have found them on the island draped in persistent fog. Bargains made are bargains reclaimed. Now their isolation will be their doom. Another favorite author of mine, Alana K. Drex, wrote the book Sleeping Celeste. This is another short book that you can read rather quickly. It is a soul-quenching read. There are hard topics in here, and she handled them well. I really enjoyed this book. This cover is amazing. It is October 1885, and Marie Maycott seems to be the only one who knows what has happened to her daughter, Celeste. She is angry that no one else understands her daughter's condition, as any mother would be. Then one chill night, groundskeeper for Heathridge Cemetery, Jacob Willis, tells her a dark secret in his family's past that just may hold the key to her problem. The next book is one of my all-time favorites. I do not have a physical copy, and I need one. I keep saying this, and I just haven't gotten around to purchasing one. I do want to reread this. I do want to display it on my shelves. I want to display it like a trophy. It is an amazing book. It is called The Vile Thing We Created by Robert Ottone. Lola and Ian had what they thought was the perfect relationship. Vacations, fine dining, a healthy sex life. But when their childless lifestyle begins impacting their social lives, they decide to take the natural next step. But what happens when that next step cracks the perfect foundation Lola and Ian have built? What happens when the next step is anything but natural? Up next is a book that I read on my Kindle, and I loved it so much that I had to hug a physical copy. I had to display it on my shelves, and I will most definitely revisit this one as well. It is Hello Dove by Gillian Dowell. I love this one. There's no end to the age of innocence until the first rebellious step is taken. Blindly following the road she was set upon, Genevieve Rowland keeps her focus where she's told to, only on the light. But the darkness exists on the other side of all she's known, and is effectively luring Genevieve to all the discoveries it has waiting for her. Before Genevieve can uncover her life's purpose, she must find the true nature of her own soul. This next book was a very recent read, and it was highly recommended by not only Gillian Dowell, but Stephanie Kemler, a co-author of another book Gillian wrote called The Year of Sin and Smoke, which could be included on this list as well, let's be honest. This book is called Solita by Vivien Rainn. Do you think I enjoyed it? I really, really did. Faith or fear, pick your poison. Passing through the motions of a life soaked through with the stench of death, Sadie Starling Passiona has never strayed from the safety of her home, her only solace, the Hacienda Espinosa. But when she unearths a dark secret planted deep beneath the floorboards of her family's century-old estate, she finally sees a means to alleviate the loss and grief that plague her every waking moment. But there's a toll to be paid. Faith is all she's told she needs, as the Hacienda's bloody history threatens to pull her into the grave. Yet who does she believe in when faith and fear become one and the same? Another recent read that I fell in love with is Bride of the Tornado by James Kennedy. Now, I received this book as a review copy, and I was so interested in it, but I did not expect it to hit me as hard as it did, to affect me the way that it did, and I am so grateful that Twins in Talent brought this to my attention. In a small town tucked away in the Midwestern cornfields, the adults whisper about Tornado Day. Our narrator, a high school sophomore, has never heard this phrase, but she soon discovers its terrible meaning. A plague of tornadoes is coming to destroy them. I'll leave it there. I've talked about this before. If you're interested in hearing more, I will try to find the video where I give more details and I'll link it below. Now, this next book was my sole 4-star book that I have read twice, and I purchased this based on the cover many years ago. I think, let's see, what year? I first read it in 2021, and then I read it again in 2023, and it is The Whispering Woods. It is a very quick read. Let's see how many pages there are. There are 39 pages, and it's definitely fast-paced, but it's surprisingly deep for how quick it is. So the author of this book is Kay Parker, and look at that cover. It's still one of my favorite covers of all time, and I still want this painting, this art, hanging on my wall because I love it so much. So this has dual timelines. In 2020, Lucinda Porter, an elderly resident at Posybrook Asylum, tells the story of her life. It's a sad and horrific story, a story of chaos and folklore combined. Everyone thinks Crazy Lou is just that, mad as a hatter. Lucinda Porter is not crazy. In 1962, at the age of 17, Lucinda and her friends found out that local legends almost always have a nugget of truth to them. The thing is, not everyone believes that in Posybrook Village, and the death tolls are rising. Lucinda has to find a way to stop it before it's too late. The next 4 books have movies that accompany them. They are either novelizations of movies or the movies were inspired by the books. I had to double check on that. So the first one is Pan's Labyrinth. The Labyrinth of the Fawn. I am a huge Del Toro fan, so you will see this because I talk about certain movies of his time and time again. This is one of those movies that I absolutely love, and I love the book just as much. It's just a beautiful novelization. So Pan's Labyrinth has been turned into an epic and dark fantasy novel, complete with haunting illustrations and enchanting short stories that flesh out the folklore of this fascinating world. This spellbinding tale takes readers to a sinister, magical, and war-torn place filled with richly drawn characters, including trickster fawns, murderous soldiers, child-eating monsters, courageous rebels, and a long-lost princess hoping to be reunited with her family. A brilliant collaboration between masterful storytellers that's not to be missed. There are amazing illustrations in here. Let me see if I can find one. Hang tight. So here's one. I just love these. Again, these are illustrations that I would frame and hang on my wall. The next book is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and I did not get to experience this as a kid, and I'm so sad that I didn't, the movie or the book. And so I was able to enjoy the book and the movie and enjoyed them equally, but this is definitely a story for everyone, no matter how old, no matter how young. I think people can relate to this story in some capacity. A heroic story of friendship and belonging. Ponyboy can count on his brothers and on his friends, but not on much else besides trouble with the Socks, a vicious gang of rich kids whose idea of a good time is beating up greasers like Ponyboy. At least he knows what to expect, until the night someone takes things too far. Another Del Toro masterpiece, my absolute favorite movie, and one of my all-time favorite books, Crimson Peak. So this is a novelization of the movie, and I think they did a wonderful job. You can kind of dive into the minds of the characters a little more and understand some of the things that are going on in a different way so that it brings everything together. So I highly recommend this. If you have seen the movie, definitely check out the book. the novelization, because it answered a lot of my questions, and now I can watch the movie and kind of know more about what's going on. It's not as much of a mystery, which, you know, sometimes keeping the mystery alive is essential, but I just love this duo, the movie and the book, so highly recommend this. Now, this was a former library book, so a lot of the description is covered. It's basically about a woman who falls in love with a man who has big dreams, and she's swept away to a house atop a mountain of blood-red clay, a place filled with secrets that will haunt her forever. Between desire and darkness, between mystery and madness, lies the truth behind Crimson Peak. I love this. Everything about it. Well, there's one thing that's quite uncomfortable, but everything else I love. And if you've seen it or read it, you know the uncomfortable thing I'm talking about. But it definitely lends to the story, and I will always adore this. Always. The last one is another story that I don't think I experienced as a kid. I can't recall, but I absolutely love it, and it is my goal to read this every year with my kids, whoever wants to listen. And if I have no listeners left, I will read it on my own because it makes for a great Halloween tradition. It is The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. Now, I have not seen the movie. I know there's a cartoon movie. I have not seen it. I hear it's great. I go back and forth between wanting to watch it and not. I think I'd watch it with my kids, but I'm honestly just not super into cartoony type movies in this season of life. So we'll see. We'll see if I watch it. But I absolutely love this story. On Halloween night, 8 trick-or-treaters gather at the haunted house by the edge of town, ready for adventure. But when something whisks their friend Pip away, only one man can help the boys find him. Join the sinister Carapace Clavicle Mound Shroud as he takes them on an unforgettable journey through space and time, deep into the mysteries of this spookiest of all nights. Can the boy save Pip before it's too late? The last 6 or so books that I'm going to talk about were written by favorite authors of mine. All of the indie variety, I do believe. One may have been signed. I haven't followed closely on his writing journey as of late, but they all at least started as indie authors. And I am so honored to have read all of these books. Love their work. Any of these authors who have multiple books out there, any of their books could have been put on this list as well. So keep that in mind. The first is The Nicest Parts of Hell by Billy Ray Middleton Jr. Now, I've read 3 of his books, I believe. 4 of his books. There was the collaboration with Alana Drex called Oops, I Killed My Boyfriend, which was my most recent read of his. The first book I read was The Nicest Parts of Hell, and I have to say this is still my favorite of Billy Ray Middleton's. I love all of them, though. I mean, it's a very, very close race. So there is also The Silhouette, which is more of a romance. There is A Reign of Vipers, which is fantasy, and I know he's working on the 2nd book in that series. And then, of course, this is kind of an apocalyptic thriller type of book that I absolutely love. Absolutely love. So this is a book that I have read twice. The first time I read this particular copy, and the second was a listen. I listened to the audiobook that was narrated by the author himself, and he did an excellent job. I was highly entertained, so you can't go wrong either way. His writing is excellent, so he definitely kept my attention, and he did an excellent job with the audiobook. There are sound effects. He does like little voices. It was just so entertaining and kept me engaged throughout the entire book, so definitely recommend. Roby Valon's memories are covered in blood, as is her past. Imprisoned for the gruesome murder of a record executive, she finds herself rotting away with only the memory of the eccentric rock star Ray Harrison to keep her sane. When the lights go out and all hell breaks loose, she sets out to reunite with the only person who can find her smile. It's very shiny, I'm sorry. Really cool cover, love it. This next book was my first experience with this author as well. It was gifted to me by my friend Heidi over on Instagram, and I love everything that I've read of his so far. But I love a good rocker story, rock star story, whatever, rock and roll, with elements of hell. Gotta love it. It's right up my alley. So this is called Wayward Sons. So this one, I get a little tripped up when I read the back because there's things I don't want to say. So we'll do the best we can, okay? And the more I sat there scraping bile and listening to the music being buzzed by a news break on TV and people eating air about all the stupid things people eat air about in bars, the more that darkness swirled, showing me just how much I hated everybody and everything. We'll leave it there because there's some blush-worthy stuff on the back of here. But excellent writing, excellent story. I definitely want to revisit this soon. It's such a little, like, it's so cute. Such a cute little book. The contents are not, like, cute, but they're excellent. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, a forever favorite. I've actually got 2 copies because the author was kind enough to send me a hardcover, a special edition hardcover. I would like to read this a 3rd time. I've read it twice, and it's been a while, so again, we're due for a reread. It is Ungodly by Braedon Riddick. Wicked phenomena strike the isolated campus of Palisade Mountain College. A homeless man sees his dead son in an abandoned dormitory, pursues the boy inside, and meets his demise. In the dark of night, a student witnesses a man plummet from a high-rise, a surefire suicide, but the detectives find no body. A campus police officer on patrol suddenly develops a taste for rape and a homicidal hunger. The townspeople always sensed an intangible wrongness on the mountain, even before the evil enigma was afoot. The next book I grabbed immediately after reading a review by one of my trusted author friends, Brittany, and I loved it. It is called Milk Teeth. Milk Teeth by Andrew Post. Sepharina Breathland would do anything for her family. She'd even trick men into coming home with her so her kinfolk can kill them and drink their blood. Because the Breathlands are anything but your typical gaggle of podunks. Sepharina's mama has been pregnant with twins for 9 years and is ready to pop. Her daddy lives in the bathtub trying to regrow the arms and legs he lost after the neighbors caught him eviscerating their cattle. And her brother Huey believes that maybe with their pops laid up, it should be him who calls the shots. And while every family has its secrets, none has a secret as dark as theirs. And when Sepharina discovers it, she's going to call for a family meeting and bring along a freshly sharpened hatchet. Because the Breathlands might have their problems, but they are getting sorted out tonight. Another all-time favorite that will definitely have people give me the stink eye. If you're not into horror, of course. It will have people wondering what goes on in my brain that I could like adore this so much, because it's very bloody and it's very out there. It's intense and it's wonderful and I love it. And so don't judge me, but it is Kin by Kealan Patrick Burke. I need to read this again. On a scorching hot summer day in Elkwood, Alabama, Claire Lambert staggers, naked, wounded, and half-blind away from the scene of an atrocity. She is the sole survivor of a nightmare that claimed her friends, and even as she prays for rescue, the killers, a family of cannibalistic lunatics, are closing in. I'll leave it there. Check it out. You gotta love bloody stories to enjoy this one. I mean, it's all on the front cover, right? And last but not least is another all-time favorite. I actually gave my copy to my sister-in-law because I loved it so much that I had to have her read it. And so I need to buy another copy, but that's no problem. Actually, this copy was gifted to me by an author friend, and so I feel a little bit guilty for giving it away, but also I'm like, I need to spread the love. I need to share this with people who can appreciate it, and my sister-in-law can definitely appreciate a good story. So that book is Mississippi Blue by Brittany Johnson. Again, she's another author that you could read everything she's written multiple times and enjoy it just as much as the first time. She's amazing. Set in the fictional town of Orson, Mississippi, Mississippi Blue follows the investigation of Mary Lee Hastings, the 6-year-old daughter of upstanding citizen and preacher Mark Hastings, who disappears without a trace one hot summer night in June 1969. Detective Du Bois, a newly appointed Detective Carolina Watterson, answer the call as the town's secrets start coming out, and decades of fear, hatred, racism, and violence are revealed. All the while, the Thing, an unspeakable beast, not of this world, waits and watches. Enter Seth Barton, a man with a very special ability, an ability that lets him see a different side of Orson, a side he calls the Blue, only reachable by plunging himself into the deep waters of the Mississippi. He finds an unlikely partner in Detective Watterson, and together they race to defeat the Thing and rescue Mary Lee before the town comes crumbling down around them. That is it. Those are the 20 books I would most definitely read again. Let me know if any of your favorites made this list. Let me know if there's anything here that you're interested in hearing more about. I can try to find my reviews or chat with you down below, or you can go find me on Instagram and chat with me in the messages. And yeah, I'm just really grateful to have read so many books that I'd love to read again. There's so much talent out there, especially in the indie author world. I absolutely love indie horror especially, but I go for pretty much anything that's got some sort of darkness to it. So let me know down below which book you'd like to reread this year, and if you think I'd like it, definitely let me know, and I will add it to my ever-growing list of books that I'd like to read eventually. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have an amazing day or night. Until next time, cheers.